Hi there and welcome to photographyquestions.com. My name is Will, and today we're just going to run through importing and exporting images from Adobe Lightroom. It should go for approximately 10 minutes, so yeah, let's get into it. So the first thing you want to do when you go into Lightroom is you'll see this page here, and you want to import obviously your images. So you start by clicking the import button down here, and that will bring up your source field on the left hand side. Now I have an SD card plugged into my card reader here, and that will automatically open up and show the images on that SD card here, and it will already pre-select them for import to your computer. Now instead of using your computer's browser to drag and drop files directly from the card to a specific location, you can actually tell Lightroom to import the files into a specific folder on your computer. So that's quite handy. You can kind of kill two birds with one stone by importing them and also begin your editing process. Over here we've also got your hard drive where you can search for existing images, so we're just going to do that now, and I'll just navigate down to my pictures, which is not terribly fancy, but here we go, some images I've shot previously. Now these are obviously located on the hard drive, and what we want to do is select a few images for import into our library. So by default everything's checked, so we'll uncheck those and begin the selection process. So once you've navigated to an image that you want to import, you can obviously select that image by ticking the box. If you want to view the image a little bigger so you can check the focus, sharpness and all that sort of stuff, you can double click that image, which will bring up the larger view. You can also zoom right in and zoom out again, and you can also get back to that grid view by using those two buttons down the bottom there. So we'll just select another couple of images there and we will import those to our library. So just click the import button down the bottom there and it will import these three images in. Now in your library you have the same viewing option here, and you also have a list down the bottom of your images in your library. So in your library section you have over here a few options, keywording and metadata. Quick develop is like a very quick way of editing your image for export. So we've just done a quick black and white low contrast thing there, and then we can export that straight away as is. I don't generally use the quick develop, as I'll develop my images using the develop button up here, which is a lot more thorough when you're doing that. Keywording is a big thing. Your image carries a sidecar file with it that carries all the information basically. So you can select preset keyword collections here. You can edit a set or create your own set. You can add keywords individually. So I selected outdoor, for example, so it's got macro, wildlife, all these different things. You can be more accurate with this by entering your own keywords. Metadata is another good one. Here you can enter your copyright information, copyright status, caption, description, all that sort of stuff, which is very important, especially if you're putting your images on any form of social media or internet photo sharing site like Flickr, Facebook, Twitter, that sort of thing. It's it's important to try and protect your images as much as possible, as much as you can. I will do a bit more of an in-depth look at keywording in a later video, but just for time's sake we'll move on. The other thing you'll do before you're exporting your images is develop them. So this is where you can do your cropping, your graduated filter, all your curves, your exposure, contrast, highlights, shadows, all that stuff. This is where you'll do it. This is where you'll develop it. This is where you'll do your sharpening, all that stuff there. Again, we'll go over this in a later video for time's sake. So we'll go back to our library. Make sure we click library up here, and then we can go back to our grid view, and this is where you will export your images. So let's select all three of our images here and go down to export, click on the export button, Now, you'll come up with a whole raft of different options here for exporting. First thing you want to do is select, obviously, hard drive if it's not selected, as to where you're going to export your images to. Choose your location, so choose a specific folder. I've just got my desktop selected here, and I'll put it in a subfolder, Butterflies Hamilton. And you can also choose to overwrite existing files if there's one in there with the same file name, or just skip over it, whatever you feel is needed. File naming obviously is nice and easy. You can choose custom name, or just choose the file name and number extension, all that sort of stuff, nice and easy. File settings and image sizing is the most important section of this. This is where you're going to choose if you're exporting for print or if you're exporting for web use. So we'll just run over that quickly. Here you can choose your image format: JPEG, TIFF, PSD. If it's for web use or you're taking it down to your local print shop, JPEG is probably the best to select. This is a compressed image file, and it's nice and easy for people to deal with, especially for web use. It's nice and small, compact. A TIFF file is uncompressed, and this is quite good if you're doing sort of more sophisticated printing. You're dealing with a printer that really knows what they're doing. They like TIFF uncompressed files. Again, just leave the compression here at none, and the bit depth at 8 bits. Generally easier for printers to deal with 8-bit components. Color space, I always leave Adobe 98. It's got more information, more color information than sRGB. And we'll just go back to JPEG here. Now with the JPEG setting, which is probably the more likely of the two you'll be exporting to, it's got a quality setting over here, so you can choose the quality it will export to. If you're exporting for print, I'll leave it at 100. I actually leave it at 100 as well if I'm exporting for web use. But when I am exporting for web use, I'll do two things. I'll come down here to my image sizing, and I will resize it to fit a either specific dimensions, specific width and height, or the long edge to make it easy. So we have the long edge selected here, and you can choose 600,000 pixels, for example. And for web use, we'll have 72 pixels per inch selected here. The reason being that will limit the amount of information in your image, so that people can't download it and then use it for print, use it in advertising, steal your image basically, which, believe it or not, does happen. Also, you can limit your file size up here to say 500 kilobytes. So that this setting here is going to make sure that it's nice and small, large enough for people to view online on the web, but not large enough for people to steal for advertising in print. Bear in mind that people can still obviously use, there's a lot of web advertising these days, so people could use your image in that context. Again, that's where it's good to have as much protection as you can by using your copyright information in the metadata. Just going back to the print options, if I was going to export this for print, I would uncheck the limit file size, and I would uncheck the resize, and I would make this 300 pixels per inch here. This gives you the best quality file, and you need this sort of resolution for printing, so we'll do that. I'll just change these settings back as if we're going to export for web use, just so we can show you the files afterwards. So that's all set there. Moving on down, here you can select some sharpening for your images on output, so you can sharpen it for the screen, for different types of paper. You can choose low, standard or high amounts of sharpening. I don't ever tend to use this because we've got sharpening options up in our develop settings here, which we'll touch on in another video. Metadata, you can choose here which options you want to include: copyright only, all your metadata except the camera raw info, which is the one I generally select. If your image is geotagged, you can remove the location information. You can also add a watermark here too. You can add a simple copyright watermark, or you can edit and add your own. We'll we'll just leave that unchecked for now. And here you can choose what you want it to do, whether you want to open the images straight into Photoshop or do nothing. I'll just open it in Explorer just to show the images in the folder after we export. I'll just quickly touch over here. You've got presets here, Lightroom presets and user presets. So for example, if you have image you want to export for print and you've got a print preset over here, you just click on that and it will change all this information to what you've previously selected, and you just add these in down here and it will create that for you. Now, so we'll just go over here and export our images. Got all our settings correct, so you'll see a little progress bar up here, and once that's completed it will open up these images for you. So if we mouse over this, you'll be able to see that it is 600 by 400, so it's 600 pixels on the long edge. If I just open this up, so this is the 100% size of your image as we've exported it, 600 pixels long. You know, if you want it to fill the screen, you'd make it 1920 for HD resolution. But I've just done this so I can show you when we zoom in, you'll see a very quick loss of information and it becomes very pixelated. If we go back to our image here and we zoom in to 100%, you can see that there is much more information there when we have all the information there, but when we don't, it just pixelates. So people can't use that if they download it. It's just a layer of protection for your images. Yeah, so that's basically importing and exporting from Lightroom. You know, if you do want to look at getting Lightroom for yourself and you want to help me out at the same time, you could go to photographyquestions.com/resources, and there's an affiliate link there you can click on, and I do thank you in advance if you do this. Yeah, so that's it for now, and stay tuned for more videos on things like keywording and developing, and we'll catch you next time. Cheers.